The sun was sinking in the sky. He had a family to meet and wings to make the minutes fly. He hailed a cab with heavy bags, but someone beat him to the door. The silver watch of time it drags across the cold Manhattan floor. He made it to the terminal to catch the bird to Illinois. The weather turned infernal to steal away his holiday joy. The engines roared and then they died in a field of Wichita snow, with nowhere left for him to hide and 1,000 miles left to go. He met a man with a trunk of rings and a smile that was 10 miles wide. He talked of loud and happy things and asked to join him for the ride. One was thin and full of pride, the other round and full of grace. They started on a bumpy ride across the wide and frozen place. They hopped a train to make the town, but the iron horse, it went and broke. The winter sun was going down. Inside a cloud of engine smoke, they found a room with a single bed and a sink that didn't work at all, with Ray Charles playing in his head against the dusty bedroom wall. They rented out a tiny car to drive across the open plain. They hadn't gotten very far before the driving snow and rain. The radio was stuck on loud and the heater wouldn't turn to hot beneath a heavy winter cloud in a lonely and frozen lot. The big man fell asleep at last with a burning cig between his lips. The miles were moving by so fast between the turns and heavy dips. The vinyl seats began to melt and the roof began to turn to flame. The heat was all that Neil had felt inside this wild and crazy game. They drove between two moving trucks on a highway made of solid ice. They ran out of their lucky bucks and paid a very heavy price. The car was just a skeleton of twisted steel and blackened wire, but they were far from being done despite the freezing and the fire. He shouted out his bitter rage at the lady at the rental desk. He felt like a tiger in a cage in a world so wild and picturesque. But the big man didn't lose his heart or the kindness in his weary eyes. He played his own and heavy part beneath the vast and winter skies. They found a bus to take the load and carry them a little near along the long and winding road to chase away the holiday fear. They shared a laugh and shared a drink as the skyline started coming in. It gave a man some time to think about the trouble they'd been in. Neil reached his porch and saw the light and the turkeys sitting on the stand. He'd made it through the longest night back to his own and happy land. But he looked back at the station gate and saw his friend was all alone. He didn't want to leave it to fate or a heart that's heavy as a stone. He went back for the man of rings and the trunk that held his entire life, away from all the bitter things and the heavy world of toil and strife. He brought him home to share the feast and meet the kids and meet the wife, the greatest man, or so at least, in this here wild and crazy life. It wasn't just about the plane, the automobile or the train. It was the sunshine through the rain and the healing of a hidden pain. Two strangers on a winter track who found a brotherhood so true. There wasn't any turning back for me or him or even you. So if you're stuck in Wichita or your rental car is made of fire, just remember what the big man saw beyond the mud and winter mire. A friend is worth a dozen seats in first class or a fancy car, through the snow and through the sleets, no matter where the heavens are. The credits roll across the screen on a story of the holiday, the finest sight I've ever seen in a funny and a country way. Neil and Dell are home at last, with the turkey and the pumpkin pie. The shadows of the road are cast beneath the white and a winter sky. So tip your hat to John and Steve and the journey that they had to take on a cold and snowy Christmas Eve, for a true and honest friendship's sake. The road is long and life is short, but a laugh can get you through the day, in any town or any port, along the long and winding